Welcome to Product Chronicles, where dead software gets dissected, sarcasm flows freely, and every failure comes with a lesson your roadmap will probably ignore anyway. Today's autopsy: Amazon Spark, Amazon's short-lived attempt to slap a social feed onto your shopping cart and call it innovation. You've probably never used it, you may not even know it existed. That's not your fault, that's Amazon Spark's fault. Because when one of the richest companies in the world tries to build social commerce by duct taping a feed onto the Amazon app, you get exactly what you expect: a clumsy UX experiment with corporate ambition and zero social intuition. But behind the scenes, Spark wasn't just a bad idea, it was a case study in product org dissonance, wrong bets on creative behavior, and what happens when you force engagement into a funnel that was never meant to be social in the first place. This one's for PM who've ever been asked to make it more engaging with no clear goal, no budget, and no users. Buckle up. It's 2017, Instagram is booming, influencers are out here monetizing breakfast. Amazon watches this and thinks, why are people discovering products on other platforms? That should be happening on our turf. So Amazon built Amazon Spark, a not-so-subtle attempt to ride the Instagram wave only for Prime members. It was a product discovery feed inside the Amazon app. Customers could share shoppable photos, write little product stories, tag items, and in theory, spark engagements, hence the name. Except no one was really sparking anything. The idea was that Spark would gamify the product review and discovery process. You'd browse a feed tailored to your interests, curated by other customers or enthusiasts, a term Amazon invented to make random early adopters feel like micro-influencers. Problem is, Spark launched without any community, culture, or creative energy, and it was buried in the app, of course. Because everyone thinks, I want inspiration, and then immediately opens Amazon's hamburger menu to scroll through 5 layers of programmatic hell. Compare this with Pinterest, also built around product discovery but driven by users spinning aspirational content, visual ideas, DIY guides, and mood boards. Pinterest didn't need users to tag product IDs from a catalog, it let them dream. Spark was the exact opposite, a commercial machine pretending to be social.
You pretend not to be what you are, not to do what you do.
Here is where it gets worse. Spark wasn't developed like a real product, it was scoped and staffed like a feature, a metric patch for engagement KPIs, not a platform with its own voice or growth loop. The team was small, some former employees described it as a side bet, tucked under the product recommendations or reviews org. There was no growth team, no social product DNA, no dedicated marketing. It was launched with the hope that if they just turned it on, Prime members would fill it with shoppable selfies and glowing captions. But they didn't, because Spark missed a core reality. You can't manufacture community, especially not behind a Prime paywall. That's right, posting on Spark required you to be a paid Amazon Prime subscriber. Imagine building a UGC platform and charging people to create content. Meanwhile, compare this to Instagram, which was laser focused on creator tools from the start. They gave users filters, easy content creation, and a fast feedback loop of likes and follows. Even TikTok, which came later, built its value engine around audience growth and algorithmic exposure. Spark, it asked you to write a mini Amazon review with a smiling product shot and quoted content. You didn't grow followers, you didn't monetize, you just gave Amazon more free data. And even if you did post, what did you get? No monetization, no following, no real audience building tools, just a little dopamine bump if someone liked your photo of a backpack. Incentivized Meta, Spark had none.
Go. And there you've got a $100 incentive.
Even for users who did stumble upon Spark, the experience was confusing. Spark tried to combine social media, shopping, and interest-based browsing, but ended up delivering none of them particularly well. The onboarding flow asked you to pick from dozens of vague interests like fitness, home decor, tech gadgets, but gave zero preview of what those categories actually included. Clicking into the feed was like walking into a department store built by introverts. Lots of products, no human presence. There were HUDs, comments, and tags, but no personalities, no viral moments, just bland content in a beige UI. photos looked like half-stock, half-staged influencer leftovers. The captions read like forced enthusiasm from someone writing Amazon reviews to hit their wine quota. And let's talk discovery. There was none. You couldn't follow people. The algorithm felt random. Content lacked surfacing logic. No training tab. No reward for posting frequently. Spark wasn't built to retain, it was built to exist. Even Google+, the famous misunderstood social experiment from Google, had circles, real profiles, and a visible push for community discussion. Spark didn't even try. It was more content widget than platform. That's what happens when a product's primary stakeholders are stakeholders, not users.
It was nothing personal.
Inside Amazon, Spark had a problem even bigger than its UX. Nobody really owned it. Spark didn't sit under a consumer social org, because Amazon doesn't have one. It was often between marketing and product discovery. At a company where success is measured in ROI per feature, Spark stood no chance. It wasn't generating measurable conversions, it wasn't adding revenue, it wasn't being evangelized by Jeff. It lived and died in spreadsheets. There was also a massive cultural mismatch. Amazon's product culture is relentlessly operational. Think fulfillment, recommendation engines, prime logistics. Social product work that's fluffy, unscalable, hard to A/B test. Spark got no real executive backing, no creator partnership program, and no narrative about what it wanted to be when it grew up. Contrast this with Amazon's other product lines. Alexa got full press tours, Fire TV had international go-to-market rollouts. Spark, it got a menu link under programs, like being invited to prom and told to sit in the supply closet. Technically, Spark could have been something. Amazon had the data, the traffic, the purchase signals, but no engineering time was invested in building network effects. No API, no sharing tools, no creator dashboards. Even the content moderation was undercooked. Spark posts were manually reviewed by vendor teams, creating lag and bottlenecks that kill spontaneity.
I can see that you're worried, and I just want to assure you, I am not human, and I cannot feel pain.
By mid-2019, Spark was quietly sunset. There was no official death notice, no retrospective blog post, no Medium essay about lessons from launching Spark. It was unceremoniously absorbed into the broader founded on Amazon visual discovery layer, a rebrand that stripped Spark of its identity completely. Interestingly, the shutdown wasn't even announced internally with much formality. Accordingly to a few scattered employee anecdotes on platforms like Blind and LinkedIn, Spark's winddown was treated like a quiet deprecation, not a failed launch. One former product team member described it as a ghost project by the end where no one knew who owned what and there were no more metrics reviews. Work simply faded away. Publicly, Spark's demise went largely unreported. No coverage in the usual tech press outlets like The Verge or TechCrunch, no analyst write-ups, not even a press mention during quarterly earnings. The only indirect acknowledgements came when Amazon began heavily pushing Founded on Amazon across influencers, partnerships, and social media, an implicit admission that Spark had become a dead end. And that's the thing, when products are born as checkboxes, they die as footnotes. Spark had no advocates, no cultures, no customer outcry when it vanished, and in a way that was the final judgment. Amazon didn't mourn, most customers never noticed. That's what happens when your product has no narrative, no fans, and no real presence outside the metrics dashboards.
You have no power here.
So what do we really learn from Spark? Not just that engagement is hard, or that users want community. We have had that before, and the real takeaway here is deeper. Spark was a product scoped like a widget but expected to perform like a platform. It didn't lack UI polish or technical foundation, it lacked cultural readiness. You can't bolt on community the same way you bolt on a recommendation widget. Social products demand a different kind of thinking. One that's messy, experimental, human, and they thrive in chaos. Amazon as a culture optimizes for control. Then there is motivation. Spark gave users nothing to come back for. No growth loop, no audience, no recognition. When you design a platform and expect people to contribute for free with no upside, don't be surprised when no one shows up. Instagram, TikTok, even YouTube. All of them figured out how to reward creators, whether with fame, reach, or money. Spark gave them a prime badge and a quiet corner in the app. And let's be honest, Spark was practically hidden, buried 3 layers deep under menus, protected by a prime paywall. That's not discoverability, that's denial. You can't grow community in the dark. Products don't thrive just because you launch them, they thrive when they are easy to find, easy to love, and easy to share. And maybe most important, feed fatigue is real. Everyone wants a feed these days, but unless your platform already commands user attention, that feed is just noise. Spark didn't add energy to Amazon, it added clutter, and because no one really owned the vision, it became just another experiment folded into a long list of features we tried. The biggest thing though, Spark didn't just fail, it disappeared. Quietly, without reflection, without closure. When tech companies don't talk about their product deaths, they don't learn. They just bury the evidence and hope the next team doesn't dig it up. Spark is what happens when you build the wrong product for the right company, or maybe the right product for the wrong org. Either way, it flopped, and no one told the story, so here we are telling it. Thanks for watching Product Chronicles. If this breakdown sparked something in your brain, unlike Amazon Spark, hit subscribe, leave a comment, and tell me which product failure deserves its own teardown next, because in tech, we don't just bury our mistakes, we ship them first.